And welcome to the latest edition of the 941 Sports Zone, episode number 23. I'm Spitz, joined by John Massoni to the right, and in the middle is Lemon Bay Manta Rays head football coach Jason Mensing, and we'll get to Coach and the reason that we have him on today, which I think is an excellent topic, the way high school football is going these days. The 941 Sports Zone is presented, as always, by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, locally owned and nationally backed, delivering exceptional roofing for homes and businesses throughout the Gulf Coast. 941-251-4257 is their telephone number, 941-251-4257. Jason Mensing, Lemon Bay Manta Rays head football coach, joining us. Coach, thanks for taking the time.
Hey, thank you for having me, and appreciate all the work you guys do for sports.
All right, Coach, we'll start quickly with a recap of the season. The Manta Rays ended up with a 3-game improvement over your first year. You've been here now 2 years, came from Michigan. And I know it was a completely different, talking to you when you first got here, it's completely different world of high school football. Everything from the spring practices and the spring game to water breaks and lightning delays. Go ahead and give me your thoughts as you've gotten through year 2 here at Lemon Bay.
Yeah, there's been a lot of transition. There's probably been a lot of transition for our kids too, as a lot of our procedures and how we do things are probably different than maybe what they've been done for before. One change we made this year is we moved all of our practices in the morning. So our kids are arriving at the facility about 5:15 each morning to get ready for practice and get going right out of the gate. And we noticed a significant impact by that. We did not miss a single practice indoors due to weather. And I'm not sure another team in the state of Florida, they probably can say that. So that now with that, we give up some time. So we have to be highly efficient. We're only on the field for about an hour and a half, which is a different way of doing things as well than from back when we played, where we were out there for maybe 5 hours, it seemed like.
But no doubt.
Overall, we were 4-6 this year. It was a big step. I think the biggest thing for us was an incredibly tough schedule the last 2 years. Our kids were highly competitive in all but one game this year. We played a Cape Coral team that was highly ranked and lost by a touchdown, had a shot to win late in the game. So we gave ourselves a chance to win some big ones, and we just fell a little bit short this year. But it was a big shift in our team culture and mindset. The accountability to each other was much, much higher. We had a much better academic outputs. We've ended up third in the academic all-state through the year. We're the third highest scoring team in the school's history, so we're very productive offensively. Defensively, we struggled a little bit in giving up 27 points a game, but it was 6 points better than it was a year ago. And we started 7 sophomores on defense and saw improvement throughout the year. So even in that side of the ball, I was very happy with the job Brian McGill and staff did and the growth we had in that. Obviously, we plan to continue to get better with all those sophomores becoming juniors and seniors in the next year.
Coach, you've made a decision. We had realignment this year. The FHSAA kind of realigned things, took away an entire classification, kind of shrunk things down a little bit. And Lemon Bay decided maybe the FHSAA wasn't the best for them. Now, this is just in football as of right now. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts, what you did, and why you did it.
Yeah. So we have elected to go to the Sunshine State Athletic Association. That association was established in 2007. I'll give a little history of that association and kind of where we are right now with it as well. When it first got established, it got established as a group of small private schools trying to find some competitive equity in what they were doing, as they were often running into the St. Thomas Aquinas and schools like that early in the tournament. And they wanted to just find an opportunity for their kids to compete and have a chance to have some success. So that's evolved a ton. There was some legislation that came forward in the late 2010s, 18, 19, where it opened the door for them to offer the SSA, that is, to offer football and allow the other schools to compete in other sports within the FHSAA. So with the start of that, it really started with American Heritage and some other schools that were bigger and not really fitting the model of the smaller privates, wanting to have their own division. So they created a division called the Atlantic Division of the SSAA. And that Atlantic Division is for all public schools, and then any private or charter school with more than 800 students, whereas their other two divisions services private and charter schools of less than 800 students. That establishment of that started out with four members. There were 4 schools that joined it, and then it went up to 19, and then it went up to 22, I think, last year. And right now we're sitting at 52. So it's a pretty large group of schools now that are suddenly in that Atlantic Division. Overall, the SSAA has 135 members, if you count the schools in their traditional tournaments, and then the Atlantic Division as well. So for us, in our first year here, so the last year that we had, that Don Southwell was the head coach in 2023, they had a fantastic team and had beaten Frostproof in the first round. And last year, Frostproof had actually moved to the SSAA. And we started working with Frostproof in the development of the Heartland Conference. So ourselves and 6 other local schools have come together to form a conference, and the agenda and goal of that conference, the Heartland Conference, is basically threefold. Number one, we wanted an opportunity to compete for a championship among schools that just chose to play each other. We wanted to have something. We can win a district title, but in addition, why not compete for a conference title as well? So that was one piece. The second piece is we want to be able to honor kids to be all league. And be able to play a common opponent so that we could all sit down and then vote and determine who those top athletes were in our area. So establishing an all-league team was the second goal. And then the third goal of that was having an outlet for academic achievement and being able to honor kids as scholar athletes who met a certain academic threshold. So that was kind of the root of the Heartland Conference. And the Hardy coach and myself started talking about that. And then the Frostproof coach jumped in and started really talking to all of our members about the SSA and some of the benefits to it. Really, it stems to the philosophy of educational athletics. We are in a world right now where there's a lot of mobilities to a small number of schools. So there's a lot of kids who are transferring into this small group of schools. And for example, Miami Northwestern, who was in our region, in fact, if we had won one more game, we would have drawn Northwestern in the first round. And Miami Northwestern had 51 transfers on their roster. Right. And to pretend like there's equity in Lemon Bay playing Miami Northwestern in the first round of the tournament is pretty foolish. And it's not, in our world, everyone likes to condemn these schools that are getting the transfers. They like to pass judgment that the coaches are cheating and whatnot. And I don't like going down that road because sometimes tradition draws kids. Sometimes we know this across the country. There's some schools that have just tremendous traditions that draw kids there. Sometimes it's location. It's a school that's convenient for kids to get to. Sometimes it is cheating. It is recruiting, which is illegal still. And by the way, there's a lot of people in Florida that don't know that recruiting is illegal, but it is illegal. You can't do it as a coach. As a head coach, my stance is the minute I start doing things intentionally that are against the rules, I'm telling our kids not to follow rules, and we're not going to do that. Just due to some of those factors and our conversations with the other Heartland schools and the other members of the SSA, and then seeing the growth of it, ultimately we feel like it's becoming a really bona fide thing. We feel like it's a better fit for our kids and our community because we're a little bit geographically isolated. And we feel like we have a strong belief in educational athletics and not becoming a school where we're trying to create mobility. I want to coach the kids who are playing for the Inglewood Cats right now, someday down the road. And I want kids who love being in Inglewood and grew up on Cape Hayes Peninsula down here to be Lemon Bay Manta Rays. And I want to develop those kids, and I want to help them be the best they can be. And, it fits that philosophy. So we feel like it's in our best interest from that.
Yeah, I agree with everything you say, Coach, because we see it. You mentioned the Miami Northwestern. That would have been your first opponent in the playoffs. You've had one more win, and there's a lot of that. When you look at the bracketing for the FHSAA, you see those first round playoff games, and you're like, in some of the classifications, 2, 3A, especially 4A maybe as well, where you look at it and say it really isn't. I mean, you love to say David and Goliath scenario, but it's just hard to really wrap your head around that when it's year in and year out, and that's going to be the opponent that you face.
And I think to your point, John, so Northwestern has been in our region the last 2 years, obviously before the reclassification here. And I would like to say that they're an anomaly, but they're not. Like this, like to your point, these situations are all throughout the state. In those 2 years, they've had 6 region games, right? 3 per year. They won the regional both the years. So they played 3 region games last year. They would play 3 region games this year. Okay. In those 6 games, they outscored their opponents 357-48. Okay. 28 of those points were scored by Miami Central in the regional final, which was a rematch game that they won 52-28. Outside of that, so like last year's game, the lowest point total that they've had offensively in those 6 regional games was against Cypress Lake, who came out of our district. Okay. And Cypress Lake last year had a team that was a very nice team, very good football team. They beat the brakes off of us. But they had 17 seniors that had stayed in their program for 4 years. That's a tremendous thing in today's day and age. They had, 4-year kids, 17 kids. In fact, we started, after I talked to their coach about that, we started an award to honor our 4-year kids, because it's a big deal to play high school football for 4 years, especially in one location. So that's one of our primary rewards we give out now. So they have one of the best teams in school history. They go play Miami Northwestern. They get beat 48-0. And that's the closest game, the least amount of points Northwestern scored in a regional game in 2 years. And again, if this was an anomaly, we just got bad luck, we ended up with Northwestern, then it's one thing. But to your point, it's happening all over the state, and the FHSAA has not addressed it. And that it doesn't really look like they have any ambition to address it, probably due to things out of their hands. But
well, you're right, and they didn't address it. They tried to pretend to address it with the metro and the suburban deals, saying it was a geographical issue, when really it's not. If you went back and looked, I'm sure if you looked at the Final 4 teams year in and year out, and some of these, it probably comes from maybe 8 schools in those classifications that are constantly getting back to that Final 4, based on the fact, like you said, Miami Northwestern comes from a talent-rich community that kids can walk down the block and transfer here and there when and where they want to. Positionally, they say, hey, I'm going down the block because they need a middle linebacker and I'm that guy, or whatever it may be. So you talk about the mobility of everything. And so it's impossible to be Lemon Bay or Hardy or where you don't have that draw, if you want to call it that, or that allure of a school down the road or whatever it may be. It would require you to sort of become a recruiter of some sort, be it through marketing or being a social media frenzy guy or whatever it may be. But even with that, how would it be possible to line up 11 guys against their 11 guys when they got 11 of the best players from the most talent-rich area and probably of the whole United States? And so the FHSAA has been very, very, very negligent in this situation. I personally think, and I have no problem saying this, is that the FHSAA is more worried about their marketing and what they're doing as opposed to what their schools, their member schools are getting out of it. They like to see themselves on TV on that first month of the year and promoting their teams and their players and getting some sort of a pop out of it. Makes no sense to me. It never did. And they sort of grandfathered in some of the schools like St. Thomas Aquinas, who can go ahead and recruit openly because they offer scholarships for whatever reasons they are, and it makes it impossible for a lot of schools to get there. It's just it's gotten so bad that now you're looking at teams that in 10 years from now, they're going to have 17, 18, 19 state championships, where the record for state championships maybe 10 years ago was 6 or 7 or whatever it may be. So now you're looking at it and saying it's just going to become and they refuse to address it. Heck, they even gone so far now, they gave up on having the games in a central place. They're making everybody go to Miami because that's where most of the schools are going to be playing from. They have no problem going down there. So they're not hiding their bias. They're not hiding their agenda. And it just makes it a lot easier to go to do something that's going to be an alternative to that. And I will tell you this, at the way it's going, the decision like you're making, more and more people are going to say like, hey, you know what? 30 teams went. When is the next 30 going to show up and say, I want to play here? Right. And then the FHSAA is going to be looking around, and they're going to be, money's going to go away, all the money from the playoff games and whatnot. And it's going to be their decision at that point. But you doing what you're doing makes an enormous amount of sense based on your philosophy and your geographic situation where you get your players from.
Yeah, and one of the things that we've been talking about a lot down here is we know who we are, and we're proud of who we are. We're a school that is proud of being a community school and proud of prioritizing academics and student athletes. And I have a little social media presence. I've got a ton of contacts with recruiters. But I don't want a ton of transfers in. I want to build deep relationships with kids over 4 years, right? Like that's why I do this, is for the relationships, not to have some stud athlete roll in and have to cater to his needs. I want to help, Johnny, who might not be very good right now as a freshman, become a great player and have a college career as a senior. That's the juice that I get out of this. Also with that, when you know who you are, you have the ability then to, and when I say that, I mean that holistically. Our principal, our athletic director, our community knows that. When you know who you are, you can more appropriately find these next steps and look for other people who have a shared philosophy. And we're not going to roll in there and dominate this thing. There's 52 other schools. American Heritage Delray is one of them. There's some good football teams there. It's not a deal that we're going in thinking like this is going to be an easy pathway. It's not going to be. But we are going in there thinking, okay, now can we build our program around the philosophies we have and have a competitive environment week in and week out when we get into the tournament and see what happens. And then hopefully, once in a decade period, we have a magical group that can make a deep run.
Now, this is just in football as of right now, Coach, but I've heard some murmurs that this is going to become across many more sports. What are you hearing?
So there's some difficulty in that, in the standpoint of the SSAA currently only sponsors football to public schools 800 and bigger. So right now, that's the only opportunity. Where they go, so the SSAA, they 5, 6, 7 years ago, didn't even have this. So they're constantly kind of growing and evolving. And we have some proposals to them that they're looking at now that might create some other opportunities. But I don't know where that will be in 5 years or 10 years. At this point, that's not an option. And that's probably a good thing that, they've got their hands full with the growth that's happened in football. So I know I talked to their president today about some other things. And one of the things he was talking about is trying to be very smart and detailed and thorough in their decisions and how they go about things so that it doesn't end up becoming a mess. And I think that's wise on their part.
Okay. Are you in a similar agreement? John, was the FHSAA a 2-year or 3-year agreement this time?
2.
Okay. So are you in a 2-year agreement as well, Coach Mensing?
So, this is one of those things that's really, really fun and cool. Okay. And as we were talking before we got on air, these issues that we're dealing with in Florida are nationwide. Like that, what we're talking about is competitive equity. We know that competitive equity doesn't truly exist. There's never going to be completely equal, right? There's always advantages and disadvantages. However, what's happening, we're seeing across the country, is that this reality of student mobility, where they're going to go to different schools and more schools, is creating less equity. So the competitive balance variable is getting larger than ever across the country, and states are all trying to address this. It's amazing how many different associations and football coaches I've talked to, and everyone thinks they have a magic answer, and nobody has an answer. That's the challenge with this. Right. Ultimately, for us and where this association is going, is their priority is competitive balance. when you have a second association, and I think this might be a model nationwide someday, when you have a second association, it protects you against litigation. So if somebody applies to the SSA, says, hey, we want to be a member of the SSA, they let them in, and then they don't like the rules and decide that they're not going to follow them. Well, they can't just sue. They've chosen to be in the part of this association. Right. Whereas before, when you only got one association, they could sue you. And if they were relying on the judge to agree, right? Well, now they're with multiple choices. Now, all of a sudden, from a litigation standpoint, you've made a choice to be here to follow these rules. It's a lot harder to sue and win than what the current
you knew what you were getting
into.
Says. Yeah, you went in open with your eyes open, wide open. That's exactly right.
So I do think it's somewhat of a model that might be good for both the FHSAA and the SSAA in the long run, if both associations can identify what they're about and what their mission is. All great leadership starts with a vision and a mission. And if both associations can, and the SSAA has been pretty devout on theirs, that it's about educational athletics and competitive balance. But if both associations can identify a model and have a mission and vision, I think it could be a great thing for both of them in the end.
Are there any crossover games, Coach, or are you playing all 10 SSAA games?
Yeah. And I didn't answer your previous question. The SSAA's model, it ties to my answer, but the SSAA model is you're here if you want to be here. So we can be there for a year or 20 years, depending on what we choose to do. With us and the Heartland members, the schools that we're aligning with, we're all seeing this as, hey, look, we're stronger together. That's kind of how we're viewing this. Let's form a really strong conference that's really competitive, where we have different champions every year. That'd be a great thing if we have different champions every year. Let's all be together in the SSA and compete there too. So what was your question there? I'm sorry, I missed that one.
I asked if you had any, is it all your schedule coming up this year? Is it all 10 SSAA games, or you have some crossover with FHSAA?
Yeah. So that's a great question. So the way the scheduling works is that you can play anybody. The SSA says that you need to play 3 SSA teams, and one of them has to be in week 0. Okay. Another benefit, I should have started with this because this is a big one to me. Being a part of this world of educational athletics, one of the challenges you get in Florida is the week crossovers, right? If you win a state championship in football, it's virtually impossible to be a winter athlete as well. You're playing so late into December that if you're a basketball kid, you're so far behind when you get out there. It's the SSA's model is they start their first game the kickoff classic week. Okay. That week has to be against another SSAA school. Okay. And then they play the 10 games in 11 weeks, just like the FHSAA. But rather than having a bye week in between the tournament, they start immediately. And then they build their tournaments so that there's 16-team brackets or less. And why they're doing that is for competitive balance again. So you're going to have a 3 to 4 round tournament, period. That's your whole tournament. So you're done the week prior to Thanksgiving. Again, this allows kids to participate in winter sports, which we believe in. We want multi-sport athletes. We think that's part of their career and their experience as a Lemon Bay athlete is to participate in a bunch of things, not just being a football player. And some of those kids might like the other sports a lot better, which is okay too, Right. So that creates that opportunity for them. And the other thing it does is they build a bracket. They don't just throw the top 32 teams in there and watch team 32 get walloped by team number 1. They're building a bracket of the top teams, and then they're building a secondary bracket where those teams are going to the tournament, kind of like the FIT was, but with the objective of not playing for a state championship, but playing competitive games. So if you're that team that did struggle, you're playing against some other teams that struggled to finish your season.
Yeah,
I was going to, excuse me, Rich, I was going to say this. You're almost seeing this happen organically at the NCAA level. You've got these big four Power 4 conferences. Well, it used to be 5, now 4, and you're seeing the bowl games where you're getting Old Dominion versus Georgia Southern. You're getting Troy versus Jacksonville State. You're starting to see this thing where now the bowl games are becoming what you guys are saying, where there's teams getting rewarded for a good season and playing teams that are just in the same quote unquote, level as they are. And you're seeing it happen without, with this is what's occurring all over the place, because it's just it is very hard to compete at that level, if you want to say whatever that may be, and expect to have continued success or whatever that success is in regards to working with the FHSAA.
Final.
Well, and to tie to that point, the NCAA did this prior, right? Like the NCAA, way back when, established Division I, II, and III. Right. And Division III was a non-scholarship level that was designed with a totally different philosophy than Division I. And now things have evolved. Division I FBS got so big with so many teams that now all of a sudden you create this imbalance with NIL and transfer portal that didn't exist before, because nobody has the equal money, right?
Right.
And now that's authentically happening again, because in the end, the best experience for people is competitive ones.
Right.
All right, Coach. Final question I have for you. So you say you start kickoff classic week, so you don't really have a quote unquote kickoff classic. You start immediately, and are your spring ball and starting for practices similar, the same, different?
Yeah, so our spring ball's the same. We're playing Gateway this spring on the Thursday. I think it's May 14th that week. We're hosting them for a 6 p.m. game that night. So that's pretty standard, all the same. We are doing the second week of practice. The kickoff classics, of course, usually the third week. The second week we're on to IMG, and it should be pretty cool. We're going to do a scrimmage with IMG, and I believe Lakewood Ranch is going to be there as well. And it sounds like some media days programming is going to be done that day at IMG with it. We're going to do a little barbecue, so that should be a good day there. And then after that, the kickoff classic week, we'll open with Hardy this year at our place.
Okay.
So, and then the schedule, outside of those 3 SSAA games, we can schedule anyone. Part of our long-term objective with the Heartland is to get those games to occur during the district weeks.
Yeah.
So that it really frees everybody open to any rivalry that may exist with FHSAA schools or other local schools to limit travel in those other weeks.
Coach Jason Mensing of the Lemon Bay Manta Rays football team, kind of giving us the lowdown on Lemon Bay joining the SSAA. What is, I know the Heartland Conference, just going off the top of my head, Hardy, DeSoto, Lake Placid, just naming a few. It's what, 7 or 8 teams now, Coach?
It's 7 teams, yeah. And we had to keep it at 7 in the initial because of the districts. If we got bigger than that, it would cross over with district components. So it's Avon Park, Lake Placid, Frostproof, Hardy, DeSoto County, and LaBelle. And then us,
okay.
Lemon Bay.
Okay. And those we
have gotten some.
Go ahead.
We have had some other people approach us, and we're just trying to let everything kind of settle a little bit before we make any more moves.
Well, you're doing it the right way, Coach, because the right way is to do it in a very measured way, being proactive instead of reactive. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, let's just do this. I'm sure there was probably surprised to see 30 teams heading into the SSAA, but nonetheless, it was still a manageable situation. You're not getting it out too far ahead of yourself, and next thing you know, you're like, where are we with this? And kind of gets lost a little bit, which seems to be the case with the FHSAA. The state turns around and puts together where you can move where you want to with unencumbered and everything else, and now they're trying to figure that out on the fly, and they're really not doing a great job with it, to be honest with you. But that's what happens when things sort of come at you when you're not prepared for it.
Yeah, and they certainly have been very reactive. And anytime you're reactive in leadership, it's hard to ever get anywhere. It goes back to that mission and vision piece, and
right.
And they got a tough job. I'm going to be a little bit defensive of them, because when you don't know where you're going to get sued from next, it's a hard place to live.
Everything is litigation. That's what it is. We got to do this because you're going to sue me because I'm not giving you the opportunity somebody else is getting, or whatever it may be. But what happens is when you avoid litigation, it's hard to put a rule in, because somebody else made the rule for you. You're not the one making the rule. Somebody else made it for you. Now you got to try to work around it, and it makes it very difficult to be successful.
And even more tough to enforce those rules. And we're seeing this firsthand with the NCAA, right?
Right.
So
absolutely.
They have rules, but they're afraid to enforce them.
Yes.
And there's things that look obvious to us. I mean, we look at the basketball situation right now with these guys playing out of the G League. I mean,
that's
a no-brainer.
That's nuts. Signing, getting drafted in the NBA, playing in the G League, and then going back to college.
Right.
Talk about ass backwards. I mean, that is nuts.
It is. It's crazy.
And there's no reason to allow that other than they're afraid that they have any stance against it. And it's ludicrous to me because, again, you got to stand on some principle at some point. Right? That's why even have an association. But
right.
In some way, the NCAA, I've been saying all along, 5, 6, 7 years ago, Northwestern tried to sue or try to get it so they could form a union for the players.
Right.
And that one move right there scared the hell out of the NCAA because everybody could start suing them for that situation. So what they did was they said, forget it. We don't want to just do let it go the way it's going to go. And then when it gets so outrageous, we'll come in and say, okay, we'll guide you through. We'll be the rules and regs guy. You guys take care of the money and everything else. And but it hasn't got there yet. So in the process, you've got guys portaling out of their teams that are in the playoffs. You've got all those kind of crazy scenarios being played out. I don't understand early signing period. How does that even work? Because why would a kid, if I was a kid now, I wouldn't want to do early signing because I could be a quarterback and I'm a 4-star or a 5-star kid who's getting promised to play somewhere. And then on January 13th, some kid's like, I'm going to that school and I'm a senior and I'm going to go one and done. And that kid gets screwed out of a situation that he signed the dotted line for in December. It makes no sense. And all of these things are just what happens when you're avoiding litigation and you're just letting everything kind of hit the fan, so to speak. And what you get is you have basically chaos.
And then you throw in unbridled amounts of money being thrown around. That doesn't aid it either.
No.
I mean, what Lane Kiffin did going from Mississippi to LSU, it blows my mind. I can't imagine playing like in a tournament, competing for the national championship. And I'm out. I'm rolling. But what? How does that even happen? What's all your life's work about when you get close to the pinnacle, the summit of it all, and you just bail? Like, man, but it's money. I'm happy I don't live in that world.
I had the opportunity to go to Oxford this year for the Florida Mississippi game, and that community was so they were in love with Lane Kiffin at that time, thinking he'd never leave Mississippi. Why would he? We're in the same conference. That's our rival. All things that lined up with it, and all it came down to was a dollar sign for him.
Yep.
And of course, they're asking all the Florida fans, do you want Coach Kiffin? Do you want Coach Kiffin? And a lot of Florida fans said yes. And I said no. I said he's a hired gun. He's not going to hang around. He's not going to do anything. And what's going to happen is it's just going to turn into what you had in other situations where coach comes in 4 years, do anything to win kind of scenario, breaks 1,000 rules, leaves 4 years into it to get another job someplace else across the country, and leaves that school in shambles. And I said, I don't want him. And he's going to do. If he did it to you, he's going to do it to somebody else. And that's where it's at. Everybody's allowed to do whatever they want to do. Money is the winner in all these cases, and that's where. And I like LSU. I think they're a fun program to see play, but I don't wish much prosperity to them over the next couple of years, especially with the coach.
Yeah. Final thing before we let you go, Coach.
My favorite part of that whole scenario was the governor coming out and saying that they weren't ever going to overpay anybody again.
Right.
And then
that just tells you about
we give unlimited funds to Lane and crew.
Yeah. a crook telling other crooks what to do right or wrong, right? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One final thing before we let you go, Coach. You had a chance to go up. I know you go back to Michigan, participate in some coaching camps. You had a very a birdie told me, a little birdie named Sean, told me that you had a nice interaction with Michigan State's brand new head coach, Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So Antoine Simmons, who coached for me in 22, is their assistant D-line coach.
Wow.
So, I was looking for Antoine. I was there. But what was really, really cool, and Antoine's a special guy. He was a 2-time captain at Michigan State and was a GA for Dan Antonio. And I was lucky for him to coach with us. But when I walked in the door, Pat Fitzgerald and the entire staff was amongst all the Michigan high school coaches. And they were just one of the guys. They were just hanging out, talking with one. And it was the whole staff. There's 10 guys there, all in their state gear, just mingling with the guys. And then in talking with Antoine and kind of the transition that's occurred, they mean business and they're going to compete. And it was very refreshing to hear. And Antoine loved Coach Smith too. Like, Antoine's a loyal guy and certainly loved the previous staff. And that's a tough transition. He was lucky to be able to stay on when, Pat came in, but it was pretty cool to walk in and see a Big Ten staff mingling with a bunch of high school guys, as if they're one of the guys, not, some elite guy that it's not usually that way. So, and they're usually friendly. Don't get me wrong. There's Big Ten speakers at those conferences all the time, and they're always nice to guys and whatnot. But you just don't see them coming in and hanging out like that and spending really quality time one-on-one with guys and not worrying if it's the guy coaching 8-man football on the side of UP or, it's the guy that's going to feed them a bunch of kids. It wasn't based on that. They were just being awesome people. So pretty cool. Yeah. And
Coach, I'll tell you, and I know Rich can attest to this. I said that the best hire this year was Pat Fitzgerald going to Michigan State. I thought that I know there was issues that he left behind in Northwestern and seems to have all kind of rectified itself. But as a coach, I saw him. I kept see a guy at Northwestern. He was competitive way before Vanderbilt got competitive. Northwestern and Vanderbilt are on equal terms in regards to how they approach academics and athletics. And Pat Fitzgerald was beating major teams for years and years and years. And I think he'll go to Michigan State. Oh yeah, exactly. I think he'll go to Michigan State and it could quickly bring that team up to a level that's competitive. We're seeing the Indianas and everybody else at this point.
The challenge he's going to have, the roster needs a major rebuild. They were playing a lot of kids that couldn't play in the Big Ten on their roster, and that it was part of the problem Coach Smith had. And with him being out of coaching, and some of his staff being out of coaching, one of the difference with him and Sig is that Sig could bring all those James Madison kids and other kids that were connected with them that obviously weren't 5-star recruits. He coached them up just like what Coach Fitzgerald would do. But, Fitzgerald's been out of it a little bit and he doesn't have quite that connection. So I think there's going to be a little bit of a challenge with that. But there's no doubt that he's going to recruit high caliber people. Yeah. And that's one of the things that we forget about in this world of mobility too. And whether it's college or high school ball, great talent doesn't help you win games. Great talent with great character helps you win games, right? And
absolutely,
rarely these guys who are moving all around at either a high school or college level are high character guys. A lot of times they're guys that are just trying to get their ego fulfilled, and they're not necessarily willing to do what it takes to be successful. And I have no doubt that Coach Fitzgerald are going to find those guys that have the character to win at that level, and the discipline, and they're not going to be around if they don't,
Right.
So,
right.
But your hiring cycle, I agree with you. Fitzgerald's probably the best hire, but our guys down the road in Ann Arbor did all right getting out of their mess too.
That was as far as I like Fitzgerald as the hire coach, but that was the greatest recovery I've seen in a very short window, because that was like there was a gigantic hole in that ship, and it was halfway down, and they got one of the one guys I would say who could probably can probably fix that as best as anybody. He's a character guy, and did a fantastic job at Utah, and I'm sure he'll do just as good a job at Michigan.
Yep. And the pockets are about as deep too. Utah's got money out there, so this is not something new that he's stepping into. He knows how to see talent, and Michigan will be all right. They may stumble for a year, but I think they'll be just fine.
Yes, for sure. No doubt.
Hey, Coach, we really appreciate you taking time. I know you got a commitment coming up a little later on here, so we're going to let you fly, but we certainly do appreciate you taking the time, explaining everything for us, and we wish you nothing but the best of luck, and we hope to see you at our media days in August as well.
Thanks so much for having us, and like I said, I appreciate all that you guys do for high school sports especially, but all sports in general. It's a great service you provide.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
Coach Jason Mensing of the Lemon Bay football team joining us here on the 941 Sports Zone. And
Rich, read your advertisement right there, because I'm gonna go blow my nose because I've got a cold and I held it in there for a while. I'll be right back.
I wasn't gonna say anything, but anyway, so we appreciate Coach Mensing for coming on, Coach Huber for being the olive branch to get him to come on. And listen, folks, like 52 teams now. After it started as 4, I have a funny feeling that this is going to get some serious traction in the next several years for sure.
I do too, Rich, and I know I came out a little hard on the FHSAA, and he don't want to say too much about it, but look, they've created this issue that there's a need for this, okay, and again, and then let's put it in layman's terms. Lemon Bay, the community of Lemon Bay is a bit detached. Okay. And what I say by that is so Lemon Bay's down here, Port Charlotte, North Port Venice, they're surrounded by other schools. Okay. And they have their own little entity right there. I guess you would call it. And it's hard for them to compete with schools that are able to do things from a much more talent rich community. And it's just how it is.
Right.
And let's be honest. And I'm not naming any schools, but look, hey, you know what? We're good. I don't want to be 4A. So let's turn in our school is only 700 kids, not 1,000. And we'll go that way.
You're not naming any schools, huh?
No, I mean, it's just like, it's kind of weird how they do that. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they're 3A or they're 2A or they're whatever they have to be in order to get success. Oh, look, we can go down and beat this team. Then we go play the tough team in our region. Then we go on from there. It's being done all over the place, and unfortunately, it's hard for certain schools, like I said, like Lemon Bay in particular, but even the whole Heartland Conference. I'm sure they all have the same story. I'm sure They all sat in a room, all 7 of them at some point in time, and said, "Tell me how you got here." And it probably was the same exact way that Lemon Bay got there. And so you created a need. You've created a lot of things that now is this. There's a necessary point to this, and I hope it works out for them. Look, we've talked to Sarasota Christian and ODA and everybody else, and they're happy as can be producing the Division I football players. It doesn't preclude you from being talented or successful. It just giving you the option of having a more cohesive, balanced way of playing competition, and again allowing yourself to concentrate less on less on trying to manipulate
roster retention.
It's more about relationship attention, and that's what. And by the way, when you do the schools that are successful continually, no matter how many times you see coaching changes or whatever it may be, but the ones that have consistency when the coaches stay around, that's usually what it is too. It's relationship building as much as it is player building.
All right, now I'll do that read that you asked me to do.
Well, I was right there.
Presented by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. Their number is 941-251-4257. They have local ownership, but they are nationally backed, and they deliver exceptional roofing for homes and businesses up and down the Gulf Coast. 941-251-4257 is their number. Well, Super Bowl 60 is set, John, and it's a rematch of Super Bowl 49, and for the 12th time in 60 Super Bowls, think about that for a second. That's one of every 5 Super Bowls the New England Patriots have been a part of.
Right.
And I'm up here. Okay, I'm broadcasting from just north of Boston, Massachusetts. By the way, about 5 hours of shoveling this morning. No lie. But in all seriousness, they took about a 5-6 year hiatus. After Brady left, they had, I believe, one playoff game, and they got smoked by Buffalo, if I remember, in 21. They're coming off back-to-back 4-win seasons. They hire Mike Vrabel. We've talked about it all year long. They go to Denver, a place where they've never won. I knew it was going to be a slog. I took the under in the game and never sweated for a second.
No,
in all seriousness, think about this. The Patriots are back in the Super Bowl, and it was Brady, Gronkowski, Amendola, Edelman, Moss, you name it. This team is completely built just like Mike Vrabel wanted them. 26 points in 3 playoff games is what they've given up.
And you kind of, how do I put this? There wasn't enough made of the Mike Vrabel hire. Mm-hmm. Sometimes every year there's 8, 7, 6, 10 guys getting losing their jobs.
Yep.
Yeah. So you never know how many are going to lose their jobs. And then that you just start focusing on like, well, this is the guy that, but Mike Vrabel was a home run hire. Should never have been Tennessee. I mean, they set themselves back years and years and years by doing what they did. And I can't imagine they're not kicking themselves right now. But Vrabel came in there and look, can't not give the most outstanding supporting actor in that group to Josh McDaniels, because he's proven himself to be one hell of an offensive coordinator. He didn't do very well as a head coach on his 2 opportunities to be a head coach, but I will say that as a coordinator and a play caller, there might be nobody better right now, and especially when it comes to he's the king of how to put what's the right phrase? The king of game management, because it's not about a lot of fancy patterns and this and that. It's about dumping it off when your first option's not there, moving in the pocket the right way. Certain things that Tom Brady learned and was taught how to do, how to dump it off to the right guy and look at know when to give up on a play and that kind of thing. And Drake May seems to be the guy who has a very high IQ when it comes to football. So he's learning very quickly, and not surprisingly, he's doing very well.
I guess Josh McDaniel found his niche, being the offensive coordinator, coming back to a place he's very familiar with and comfortable with. Bob Kraft loves him. There's a lot to be said about that.
Right. Sometimes you're really good at something and then you have a ceiling. Doesn't mean that you're not be great at what you're great at. I know plenty of guys that are great salesmen. They couldn't manage a company. They can sell stuff, and they're successful in that manner. So in this case, you're an offensive coordinator. Go be the best one you can be. At some point in time, you look at guys like him and you say, maybe he's a Hall of Famer, but he's not a head coach. Maybe maybe they need to have that as an idea that a guy could be a Hall of Fame coordinator.
Well, they do have coordinator of the year. And he is, I believe, one of the 5 finalists, along with Vance Joseph, the guy he was up against yesterday. And listen, both teams' defenses played tremendous. New England just had that drive coming out the start of the second half where they held the ball for, it seemed like, the entire third quarter, ended up kicking a field goal. And, there's the difference in the game.
Yeah.
7-7. Vrabel, it's 4th, and it wasn't 4th and a lot, but it was 4th and enough. And he sends the kicker out. He says, we're going to take these 3 points. Second quarter, and this is, I think, where you and I differ a little bit on Sean Payton. I think he let his arrogance get in the way. 7-0. Oh. You've got a backup quarterback. This game is going to be a slog. Points are at a premium, and you're going for it on 4th and 1. And then the play call. You're rolling out a guy who hasn't played since 2023. which is inviting the rush. And by the way, they were all over him all day. And I know he did admit that he made a mistake, but man, I mean, you have to go into the game going, we got to get every point possible. It hadn't started snowing. It was it was an automatic. And he left 3 points on the field. We've talked about it all year long. What did they lose by, John?
Yeah, 3.
3.
And so I'm going to put a giant bow on that, what you just talked about, and put everything in my what's bugging me, because it is beyond comprehension that at that moment, based on everything you said, with a coach, with a quarterback hasn't thrown a ball since 2023. Look, I'm gonna repeat myself a little later. You knew, everybody knew,
right,
that it was going to snow in the second half.
Yes.
Okay? Everybody knew it. And it wasn't going to be a couple of snowflakes like the snow is on the Hallmark Channel for 90 days. Okay. It was going to come down like hell, like crazy. And what were you going to do in that situation? It's unfathomable that's what happened. And you'll hear I have a bit to say about Mr. Payton as well.
Yeah. Well, and so the Patriots did what they needed to do. They got the overturn, the correct call. Boy, what they called on the field, intentional grounding. I'm watching the game with the sound down. I'm like, intentional grounding? That's a freaking fumble. What are you talking about?
He threw it backwards. Even if
right,
it didn't,
exactly. It's like,
what
are we doing here? Thank goodness New York buzzed in and made things right. And listen, the Denver defense. I'd be going, if I was the Denver defense, I'd be going up to Sean Payton. They held the Patriots to like 150 total yards.
Right.
They did their job. They knew what they had to do. Vance Joseph had them ready. You hold a team to 10 points, you should win.
Vance Joseph, another great coordinator.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So you see these
He's
guys.
He's probably going to be coordinator of the year, actually. He probably is.
So you see that kind of situation where it pops up, and I think in the NFL, maybe more than anything, coordinators are huge. Just look at the Florida Gators, no offensive coordinator, and you'll understand why that was an unmitigated disaster. And then if it all plays out right, you'll see there should be success with a good coordinator coming next year, no matter who the quarterback is.
Right. Meanwhile, in Seattle, it was a shootout as expected, although amazingly neither team scored in the fourth quarter. But before that, it was just up and down the field. I thought LA made a couple of, everybody talks about Sean McVay. I thought he made a couple of poor decisions, especially at the end of the first half. Minute 35 left, runs on first down, throws on second and third down, and gives Sam Darnold the ball. Talk about disrespect, by the way. Sam, he basically said, here, Sam, go ahead and get some points. He didn't just get 3, he got 7. And let's tip our cap. And I know that's hard for you to do because Sam Darnold was drafted number 3 overall by the Jets, was seeing ghosts, he's been everywhere. Kevin O'Connell's probably sitting at home going, we may have pulled the ripcord a little too quick. Good for Seattle jumping in and getting him. And he proved himself yesterday. 345 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, no turnovers. And he played with Matthew Stafford. That's all he had to do because his team had the better defense, and they end up winning, and they're heading to the Super Bowl. Sam
Darnold should be any 3-year college football quarterback who's about the age of 20. What they should say is here's a picture of a guy, Sam Darnold. It took him 9 years to find success.
Yep.
And a lot of bumps on the head. Go back and go get your starts in college. Go learn your craft before you go. Yeah. And listen, that name, made my hair stand up because there's a second pick in the first round that they're saying, well, why don't they go get Tyson? No, it's just, you're not picking a head of lettuce out. Okay. Right. I can get a head of lettuce. It looks great. Might have a little bit of a bad leaf on it, and I'll throw it away, and it's still a good head of lettuce. Not a quarterback. You can't just take any quarterback. And if they're not prepared and they're not ready, and obviously not ready, why would you take one? It's not the time. This is the biggest. All these Matthew Stafford, where'd he come from? Detroit. Sam Darnold, where'd he come from? 4 other teams, right?
Jets, Carolina, San Francisco. And I heard a story today, and I love this story, and I hope it comes out for the next couple of weeks, John. I was listening to I think it was Dan Patrick, and I think he was talking with Mike Golick Sr. They were talking about the fact that, he bounced from the Jets to Carolina, and he actually took a step back. Instead of looking for a starting job, he wanted to get with San Francisco because, their coach is a heck of a teacher of quarterbacks. And then he goes to Minnesota and you get Kevin O'Connell, and he's a great teacher of quarterbacks. And he took that, 3 or 4 years that he was doing that, and he put it all and culminated yesterday with just an unbelievable performance in a championship game.
And on the flip side of that too, Rich, I'm talking about not coming out when you're only a 3-year guy. Bo Nix played 6 years of college football, had 60 starts almost. And there's a reason why he can go manage a game. Okay. Right. Drake May started as a freshman at North Carolina, might still be there if it wasn't for the shakeup that happened with everything, whatever it was. But he goes out, gets time to gets tutored for a year or whatever it may be. There's ways to do this, and it's not to go pick up Ty Simpson or to go pick up Sam Darnold when he's had very limited success and or starts. I don't know why it's to me it's that simple. It's just that simple. And at that position, you should be steadfast in that situation, because that position doesn't work out. It sets you back 5 years easily because you're going to get a new coach and a new quarterback. Right. And that's hard to do year after year after year.
As we have 10 openings, which is down to 4, by the way, and we'll talk a little bit coaching news. I didn't put it on the rundown, but I wrote it down later, John. So anyway, Stafford, in what might have been, although I highly doubt it, his final game, 374 and 3 TDs himself. And again, Sean McVay late in the game had a decision to make. Now, I'm not so sure. There was under 5 minutes to go, and they may have never seen the ball again. As it turned out, they did. But down 4 points, you kick the field goal, cut it to 1, and then play some defense, although they really hadn't played defense all game. The pass goes incomplete. They end up getting the ball back, but they really didn't have much of a chance at the end of the game. What a wide receiver battle in this game, John. Probably 2 of the best in the game.
I would say I can't. It'd be hard for me to argue against them being the top 2 guys in the league right now.
And remember, Puka Nacua was a 5th round draft pick, a year that the Rams only had 4 draft picks and they hit a home run. So everybody gets enamored with the 1st round pick, and you got to get drafted on day 1 or day 2. If you do your homework, you'll find nuggets on day 3, and certainly the Rams have.
I looked up why. I'm like, how did he get there? He was a bit of a problem child.
Yes.
So I would say that, but hey, you know what? On a 5th round guy with that kind of talent, I'll take a run at him. You know what I'm saying? Because who's going to remember if he didn't make it? How many times you go back, look at your 5th round pick and say, well, damn, we should have got so-and-so. It doesn't happen that way.
Puka had 9 for 165 and a touchdown. Jackson Smith-Njigba, and we've seen him because I saw him against the Bucs, and he was great in that game. I've seen him many times. I, like other people, have seen Seattle play a lot this year. 10 catches for $153, and the one-handed catch he made on the sideline, that's just sick, John. That was just, and he didn't even try to use the other hand. He just said, I'm just going to hold it with the one hand. If he used the other hand, he probably would have been accused of, the ball would have been moving, and the pass would probably been ruled incomplete.
I was making my thing. IQ-wise,
yes,
he kept the ball in one hand because he showed the referee that he had control of it.
Yep.
Bringing it in and putting another hand on the ball, that ball would have moved. He would have been out of bounds. So that's a level of being a wide receiver that goes beyond the physical side. That's a guy who is dialed into his profession at this point.
And he was a recruit of Brian Hartline at Ohio State. And now Brian Hartline is the coach at USF. It gives you hope if you're a USF fan. All right. The line is out. It quickly went up. Seattle opened a 3.5-point favorite. Over 46.5. It's 4.5 now. It got up to 5 in a couple of places. A lot of people completely dismissing the Patriots. You do that at your own risk.
Not when a team can play defense like they play.
Yeah.
Okay. So and so you Seattle's defense is good, but I
Yeah.
think I think they're a bit off the rails sometimes.
Mhm.
You saw about a 5-minute in real time scenario where the kid Woolen, the number 27.
Yep.
I liked his teammates coming up and telling him something and he didn't like it.
Yeah.
Well, it's too damn bad because somebody needs to say something. And what was it last year? What was it this year? I forget which one. When the kid from Arizona, the running back, ran into the end zone and flipped the ball out of his team before he got in there, and then the coach yelled at him and dressed him down, and it became about racism and everything else. When a coach was just trying to tell another guy, don't do that stuff, and I would have been just as mad, but maybe now it's up to the players to tell somebody when they make a fool of themselves, and then make a fool of yourself. And you're shaking your head, no, and you're so wrapped up in yourself, you get beat on the very next play. Mm-hmm. Great play call. Go right after that guy. His head is up his ass right now, and let him go and you threat to the best guy, and it's a touchdown.
Now, to his credit, he made 2 great defensive plays on that last drive, and he was the guy that broke up the pass in the end zone on 4th down. So
absolutely did right.
And that's why they drafted him. I mean, he may be a little bit of a knucklehead, and his teammates will take care of that. But the kid does have talent.
That's what I'm saying. So at that point, you reeled him back in. You didn't. Nobody said nothing. Somebody said something, and I got to think that saying something went a long way to him being able to get back in that game.
All right, I got the other computer going here because I want to just looking to see one of the things I want to talk about here. Mike McCarthy, a Pittsburgh guy, has a verbal agreement with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You're shaking your head. No, this guy wins 60-something% of his games. Who'd you want?
It's not a Steeler. It's not a Steeler pick. Where's the guy going to be 19 years as the head coach? McCarthy's not going to be around for 5.
I think they finally realized that maybe the shelf life's a little much. Maybe if they get 8 to 10, maybe that's enough.
That would be a reach. I would tell you that. No, I mean, the Steelers, to me, of anything, they have always sort of risen above the fray. I mean, with their hires at coach, maybe he said the right things. I'm sure he has. He did not impress me at Dallas at all. He seems
just by 3 12-win seasons in a row.
Here's what it is. I felt as though he took the job with all the bullshit that goes from Jerry Jones.
Sure.
Okay. He seemed like he was just the next puppet in the line of puppets that Jerry Jones has had. It disappointed me. He wanted a job. Look, if the Jets would have hired him when he was going for the different jobs that same year, I might have been okay with it at that point. But I seeing when again he just seemed like if it didn't go his way or whatever with personnel, with all that kind of stuff, I just didn't like his tenure at Dallas.
Okay.
Will he flourish
in the playoffs? You're right. I'm sorry.
No. I just didn't. The whole thing. I never, when he was the coach at Dallas, I never looked at Dallas as a threat. I never thought that Dallas was going to do anything. It just seemed like they were kind of going through the motions, and whatever Jerry was saying, he went along with it. And he, sort of like I would, if I'm the head coach and I go to the podium, I want to know what I'm saying means something. It's not going to be undermined by the guy 10 minutes later.
Okay, so he goes to a completely opposite situation. Yeah. The Rooneys don't say boo. Basically, the head coach is the head coach. We have a whole bunch of Tomlin's Tomlinisms because of that, because he gets to the podium and he says some. So I want to give him a chance only from that standpoint. He doesn't have a Jerry Jones to worry about. He's the guy in Pittsburgh. They hired him, and he's the guy.
He's just got about 70 million Pittsburgh Steelers fans to answer to.
Yeah, and they are not happy. And I don't know what they wanted, some sort of coordinator that was 30. It's not 1997 anymore, guys. I just think, I don't know. I'm okay with the hire, and as a matter of fact, I think he'll do very well. I think he'll raise the standard in Pittsburgh. You don't agree, and that's what's great. Next couple of years, it'll play out, and one of us will be right, one of us will be wrong.
Yeah, like I said, and one thing I also don't know if it's the right thing to do as well, and I haven't heard anything in the last couple hours, but is the hire also there because you're trying to get Aaron Rodgers back for another year?
Well, that's interesting you say that, John, because they were on the outs when he left
you're right.
Green Bay.
He had him booted.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think so. I that's very interesting. Speaking of Jonathan Gannon, who had the problem in Arizona, he's now the defensive coordinator in Green Bay, which I think is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think of the name. The John Harbaugh hired away the defensive coordinator from Tennessee to be his DC in New York.
Yeah.
And actually, Tennessee has not been bad defensively. That's not been their problem the last few years.
No, it absolutely has not been. And these coaches know, get the right coordinators in there right away, because head coaching is a lot more to do with media and other things than
CEO.
it is sometimes.
You're a CEO, man. You're
right. You got to be able to put the right people in
place.
place.
Todd Bowles. And I always go back to him, and I probably think I'm picking on him, but if I'm the Bucks, I make them hire a DC and say, listen, you're the CEO, your coordinators need to be the guys, period, end of story.
Right. And it proved out this year, the two other coordinators on offense that were gone back-to-back years, they proved out how good they were.
Yes.
So nothing against Todd's success, but coordinators.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Todd.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
One other coaching note: Philip Rivers took his name out of the hat in Buffalo.
I was hoping
that was weird.
So bad. Yeah, I wanted him to go there. I was looking forward to it.
Really?
So, Josh.
Yeah, your guy.
My guy.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh. I gotta kind of believe that Josh had a little bit with McDermott's exit, and I would have liked to seen Josh sort of got coached up a little bit by Philip Rivers. That would have been interesting. It would have been an interesting situation. It was either going to be the best or the worst. No in betweens.
Yeah, no question about it. Yep. All right, so that's the latest on everything that's going on in the coaching searches. Again, the 941 Sports Zone presented by Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida, locally owned, nationally backed. 941-251-4257. They work up and down the Gulf Coast, delivering exceptional roofing for homes as well as businesses. So give them a call, 941-251-4257, Mighty Dog Roofing of Southwest Florida. John, when we did this podcast last Monday about this time, the national championship was just about to take place down in Miami. It turned out to be one heck of a game.
Yes, it did.
And, Miami's going to rue the day. Seriously, they're going to rue the day. How do you get a punt block on a punt safe? I mean, literally, Indiana was bringing like 4 guys. And one of them uses the blocker as a turnstile, blocks a punt, and, they land out in the end zone. Ends up being the difference in the game. And I guess if you want to look at it from the Indiana standpoint, their 16-0 season, they seem to do everything right fundamentally. The linebacker backs up when nobody goes into the flat. He keeps going back and getting deeper, and Carson Beck ends up throwing the ball to him. I mean, They just made the plays all year long, and hats off, tip the cap, Kirk Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers national champs. Man, that sounds weird.
It all sounds too good to be true. But this is what this will be 20 years from now. This will be in the folklore of college football. College football is just so super great because of those type of situations. This is why everybody goes Saturdays, wears their colors. Yep. This is why it's the dream scenario. You've got the All-American kid at quarterback, too good to be true.
Right.
You get a coach coming out of coming from the lower rankings to come up there and has meteoric success. Everybody on that team does the right thing. They're not a 5-star on that roster, right?
Well, boy, do they play as a team, John.
Hey, you know what? The kid, we laugh about it in the high school, conversations about, oh, is so-and-so getting recruited? He's a great player. No, his arms are too short. No, he he
Now you're talking about Will Campbell, the Patriots.
but that's so it's always like, yeah, but he had 11 interceptions and he was on the best team he was the best player on the defense for the best team in the state. Well, you know what? He's not that guy. We don't need him. They're littered with these guys, right? And they found them all. However, it's like the land of the misfit toys. They found everybody right there. They got to put them all together, and they went out there and won football games. Mendoza's run for the touchdown,
Yes.
for the game was epic.
Yep.
You could not have not got up off your seat and watched every. It only took probably 2 seconds to get in the end zone. It felt like it was that slow motion, like he gets hit, he turns, he twists, he's going to go down. He doesn't. It was
Well, that's the way Chris
fantastic.
Fowler called it. He's like, it's a first down. Oh, and it's a touchdown. Like
Right.
the last 2 yards was just incredible.
Right. And to see him, and I thought the best thing he did after the game, everybody wants to show his mom, and that's an unbelievable story as well.
Yep.
But the part I like the best, because from a football perspective, he goes up there and drops the F-bomb, because that's emotion. Yep. You're human. You know what I'm saying? Yep. You're human. That's the humanity. That shows you that it means something, and you're with your guys and with your boys. Same number, but he is the next Tim, or was the next Tim Tebow. That same sort of bigger than life guy who did the right things, who willed his team to win, all those different things that go into it. A coach, a little bit cocky, would you say, Signetti?
A little?
Yeah. Urban Meyer, a little bit cocky, right?
Google me. Yeah.
So, it's really good, and you don't get to see it all the time. Alabama could win 6 national championships in 8 years or whatever, however it may be. It'll always be overshadowed in the moment by what Indiana did. It's that level, and nothing against Alabama. I'm just saying, in the folklore of football, Alabama's going to win their championships. That one will be. I have a bunch of customers of mine that are from Indiana. I said, go buy everything you can that says national championship on it. Wear it for a year and then put it in a box and save it for the next generation, because that's how big it's going to be for you.
Yeah. Interesting story out of Indiana this week. Fernando's brother, Alberto, out of there. Georgia Tech transfer portal. Maybe it's not all roses or what have you, or maybe Coach Signetti just basically said, listen, pal, you're not going to play here, and do what you need to do.
Well, they portaled the guy in. That's what it was too. Right. So that sort of laid it out there. And good, he got an opportunity to go to Georgia Tech. He's filling a space that Florida got their quarterback, and he's filling a roster spot. Great school, closer to home. Mm-hmm. Everything's great. Go form your own situation. Aaron Rodgers and his brother, Jordan Rodgers.
Jordan Rodgers, yep.
Jordan,
former UTEP minor,
and then went on to be a Vanderbilt Commodore. Mm-hmm. And of course, Aaron was out in California. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to follow your brother in everything you do. You know what I mean? So not a bad situation.
No, I kind of tip my cap to the kid. I mean, because again, might be one of those situations where he just saw the handwriting on the wall and said, well, it was great. Fernando's leaving. He's going to be drafted. So we're going to do something else. But that's putting on the, by the way, did you see the ratings?
Unbelievable. It had to be.
I couldn't. Yeah. And here's the deal. Okay. So Friday's deadline came and went. We're still with a 12-team playoff next year.
Yep.
Because Sankey wanted 16, and he's the commissioner of the SEC. And if anybody's watching this, you probably know, but let's give some context. Commissioner of the Big Ten, Tony Petitti, was like, all right, we'll give you your 16, but we want 24 by the end of the decade. And Sankey said, no. So we're back to 12. The thing that's interesting to me, where everybody was complaining about how late the national championship was, John, the next couple of years, it's even later. It's like January 28th next year.
And I know that's
crazy.
And I think what they're setting up for, Rich, is I don't think Monday night works for them. There's more money to be made on a Saturday night or a Friday night even. I think that's what they're going to end up doing.
I think Thursday night's the biggest one.
Monday is terrible. It's terrible. And it's after the weekend and everything else. Even I was the Super Bowl was stupid. Why is Super Bowl Sunday? It's dumb. It was dumb. You have it on Saturday, and more people are they're selling
take Sunday off. Yeah, you get time to recover, get back. Yep.
Right. But they never did. Still college football. I have a question for you because I've never heard anybody say why. Why in the hell do we want 24 teams in the big? Just
I think it's nuts. I think that's crazy.
It's just stupid. I don't even.
Let's go back to what Coach Mensing said. They're trying to streamline things so that they're done before Thanksgiving. You want to be done in March? I mean, 24 teams.
I can't. I don't know. I can't even think of how does the bracket work because you have to have. I don't even know how the bracket works. I don't understand.
Probably 8 buys. 8 buys and 16 teams play, and then
get rid of the bowl games. Then there's no bowl games anymore.
Right?
Who's going to watch a bowl game? I mentioned it. Before I'm like, hey, it's great for Old Dominion and whoever to play each other, right? No problem. But if the next day you're going to put your TV time into to all the games that are going to be you can't have that many games on one day. The hell is going to happen?
Nope, you're absolutely right. So we're going to be 12 teams again next year, and they're going to stretch it out even more. I can't wait to see how this is going to work out. But again, we still have college football, and it's great. We'll have some spring games. They've been canceling spring games more and more because they don't want kids entering the portal if they don't play enough in the spring game, et cetera, at all.
Hey, it's happening all over the place.
Correct. Yep. Absolutely.
All over the place.
Yep. A couple of other things before we get to our locks and our what's bugging me. Some news out of Tampa last Tuesday. The Hillsborough County Commission unanimously approved the Hillsborough Community College campus as home of the Rays. They're basically giving them the land and say, boys, go ahead and build, which all sounds great and everything, but we still have this one problem.
Money.
Yeah. Financing. How is it going to be split? I've already seen stories. Tampa Bay Times, John Romano last week basically poo-pooed the whole thing and says we're right back where we were. He doesn't think this stadium deal is going to get done. And if it doesn't get done, the Hillsborough County Commission said last week, came right out and said it. If this doesn't work, they're going to Orlando.
Yeah, I agree. Why not? St. Pete does not deserve a baseball team. Right. Not the people of St. Pete, but the politicians of St. Pete.
Right.
Absolutely ridiculous. And they should have been a done deal. They're arguing. It's just ridiculous. Everybody there wants to say it's the same thing that happens. 2 mobile home parks in St. Pete don't like it. So their representative says it's out and it becomes a problem. So that's the problem with them. Hillsborough County, I think that they are, how do I put this? They say they want something, but they have no damn plan on how to do it. They know that they wanted Ybor was never going to work.
Right.
Who the hell wants to go to Ybor for a baseball game? It's impossible. It would be no way.
Nuts. Yeah.
Logistically, no way. It was horrible. So that's not going to happen. And then now you keep on saying, well, here's a place, or here's a place, or here's a place, or here's a place. You're just looking for places. What's going to happen when it happens? I saw a picture of what they were going to do with the campus, and it was going to be all this different stuff attached to it. It was a whole series of things that were going to be around the baseball field. Once again, I'm on Dale Mabry going to think about a Buccaneers game and think about having half of that or somewhere around those lines every 81 times in a year. It's a nightmare. It's like taking 41 to the baseball game. It'd be ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It should be somewhere out closer to the I-475 area, out towards
Fairgrounds.
Hard Rock is. Yeah, Fairgrounds especially. Somewhere out there. They just keep throwing things against the wall with no idea how it's gonna work, and then they just say they act like they're doing something and they're doing nothing. They're just wasting a bunch of time.
We got to get the money going, and I think that's big. And I think the new ownership group, this is their first big deal. I mean,
right.
Because they basically gutted the roster, and they're basically setting things up for 2029, to be good. the next 2 years, which the next one after this year might not even happen. With the proposed lockout, and if the Dodgers sign somebody else for $100 quadrillion, the
Right.
owners are. Here's the problem: before they even negotiate with the players, they've got to get on the same page themselves, and that's going to take months.
And that's the difference between baseball losing popularity and football gaining popularity. Yep. You have 30 guys. What's 32? How many teams now? 32, right?
Baseball's 30.
But football's 32.
Yeah.
Right. 32 guys in lockstep with each other. They get in little fights over $1 billion here and there, which is like you and I arguing over lunch money. And that dollar
bet.
The dollar bet, yeah. And but in baseball, there are 30 entities on their own with very very little rule setting, and it's they can't even get their any of their rules, and it's just all it's all mishmash, and it makes baseball sort of unwatchable because it's going to end of the year it's going to be the same 4 teams. So unfortunately that's the picture they've painted for everybody to look at, and it's not as marketable as it used to be.
Nope, no question about it. All right. The Lightning finally threw in a clunker Saturday night. It had to happen. I mean, you can't just keep rolling along like they were. 15 games with a point, 14 wins and a tie.
But it did take 8 goals to beat them.
Yes, absolutely. It scored 5 goals, even in the loss. So, the backup goalie, it was back-to-back nights. So JJ played Saturday night, and he struggled. Let's be real. They struggled in front of them, too. They looked like a team that had played 3 games in 4 nights and were just spent. And I'm sure they had some travel issues because the weather in that part of the country, that was like 10 below in Chicago the night before. Columbus actually, as we record this, canceled their game Monday night because of the weather. They just can't get there. So, and I think we're going to see a lot of that, especially if they're talking about another storm next week. Let's not even talk about that. Anyway,
I'm happy. I'm almost happy this happened because I don't like when teams go into the playoffs with these long streaks and everything else.
Right.
There's too much pressure leading up to the playoffs. I'd rather see you get your lineup set. I like everybody to get going. They're obviously going to make the playoffs at this point in time.
I think so.
Now it's just a matter of and hockey. I think that if you're the best team, even if you're not the 1 seed, you'll come up on top. I believe, at least.
They are home Monday night against Utah. They have another game on Thursday. We're getting close to the Olympic break. Olympics are just a couple of weeks away. I'm looking forward to that tournament, although I would love to see a Russian team, but that's not going to happen.
Right.
But to me, that doesn't. A lot of people are like, "Well, it just takes so much from the tournament." Screw that. They don't want to put a team out there. Fine, we'll do it without you. We did the 4 nations, and that turned out to be okay, didn't it? Last year, the 4 nations, that worked out just fine. Now we're gonna have a bunch more coming up with that. By the way, the outdoor game is this coming Sunday. John, did you see the forecast?
Is it cold?
It's not only cold, we're calling for a wintry mix in Tampa.
Yeah.
I guess this storm I just alluded to on next weekend, I guess this is going to be one humdinger. It's going to make this storm that just passed by look like a little kid.
They never like to go more than 8 days out or 7 days out. Even the 8-day forecast is usually like a 5-day forecast.
Right.
So what I heard this morning was here said, if you think it was cold this Monday, wait till you see next Monday.
Yeah. I see wind chills in the teens.
Yeah.
In the teens, as far south as Tampa.
That's exactly right. No, there's no doubt
better
about
wrap
it.
those pipes. For all you Floridians, if you want some advice, I'm here for you. We'll let you know, because it hasn't gotten out of the teens, and it seems like a week. Yeah. I know it was warm last Thursday, but man, it's cold right now. All right, lock of the week. I'm falling behind. I had the Pats. I said, give me any point spread. Well, after it started snowing, the Pats just totally stopped trying to score.
Right.
And, let's give it again. There's a coach that understands. Hand it off. Let's punt. Even if the punter wasn't having a great game, they're punting against the wind. One of the ball, the second to last drive started at the New England 33.
Right.
Nothing. He was like, at that point, he had no fear. He's like, if we just do our job, does that sound familiar in New England?
Yeah.
We just do our job, we're going to the Super Bowl, and they certainly are. So anyway, I had the Pats. You had Seattle, and you're on quite a heater right now. You were 7-6. You won 5 in a row. You're now 12-6 on the season. I'm 10-8. We got to get creative here. The Super Bowl's not for another week.
Oh, I did.
I want to hear this.
No, it's nothing. I was going to go golf, but I said it's too early. I'm going to save my golf for a little down the road.
By the way, speaking of golf, I'll interrupt you for just see if you heard this before. Scotty Scheffler won.
Scotty Scheffler does not go anywhere and not try to win. And I've actually a little sidebar. I played 2 of those 3 golf courses. I went out to Arizona,
really?
I went out to Palm Springs many years ago and played the Nicklaus course and played the Quinta. So it was kind of cool to see that they've changed a little bit. But I went out in August when it was 115, 120 degrees out there.
Oh, that's
So,
it's nuts. I have a friend who lives out there.
Great times. Golf was cheap, but I made the mistake of drinking a couple of beers and drinking some water, and I almost had a heat stroke. And that's from a guy from Florida.
Little toasty. Yeah,
no doubt about it.
All right.
So I'll go lock of the week. So look for a big game, some game that somebody would want to watch. So I found one pretty quickly, and I went in college basketball.
Oh yeah, I was going there too.
I'm going Michigan to beat the undefeated Nebraska Cornhuskers at home. So I got Michigan at 18-1, beating the 20-0 Nebraska Cornhuskers. It'll be Tuesday night at home. So they'll end Nebraska's streak at 20 games.
Give me. Okay, so it's at Michigan.
What
do you think? I already knew this because I looked at this line and went, "Oh my God!" What do you think the line is?
I'm gonna say the line is Michigan -4.
10.5.
Really? They have
10.5 undefeated. 10.5.
Well, they're undefeated. And there's only 7th in the country. It's bizarre.
Oh, they moved up.
They did.
They got top 5 as of Monday. Okay. They're now in the top 5.
I didn't see that. So, all right.
But it's taken a long time for them. Listen, Miami's still undefeated. And they're in the teens.
Right.
Miami, Ohio. That is.
Yeah.
But
so give me Michigan over Nebraska.
Okay. I'm thinking straight up there. You're not going to.
Well, I'll give the points.
Wow. You're on such a heater. You're like, screw it, 10.5.
I wouldn't want to be have a better look at me with the cross eyes and say that's not a real win than a 10.5.
Oh, that's not true. Well, we'll have to get money line back on here then.
Money line,
yeah.
I'm surprised. I don't know if you know this now, but I like watching wrestling. It's sports related.
Wrestling.
They have a character guy, a guy now. His name is Joe Hendry. And if you say his name, he appears. And it's funny because he'll come out of a refrigerator. He'll come out from under the ring. He'll just show up. It's kind of funny how they do it. They're always very good comedic things. So when you say his name, he appears. If you say if you say Moneyline Peacock, he should just pop up on the screen and give me the thumbs up.
I'm gonna have to ask some of my friends how do I do that, because I got people that really know StreamYard a lot better than I do, and we have to. Interesting. All right. What am I gonna do? I saw college basketball too, but it's kind of a crappy way to do this. But I got a game for Monday night as the night Arizona, number BYU. 1 team in the country, and BYU.
Yeah.
Spread's only 1.5. Arizona's favored by 1.5 at BYU. BYU's got that freshman. He lit them up for 43. Saturday, 3 freshmen. First time in the history.
40 points,
Yep, of the NCAA, 3 freshmen scored 40 or more. And this kid from BYU's the goods.
I got lucky enough to watch Arizona beat Florida the first game of the year.
Yeah.
And I thought Florida played well, and Arizona never was in doubt to lose that game.
Yes. They're talented.
And they are very talented, young talent as well. They have a freshman. He's big. He can shoot. He's got basketball skills. Arizona is very impressive. Very.
Well,
impressive.
I was gonna take it. It's not my normal thing. I don't like taking road favorites, but I only have to lay 1.5 with Arizona. I'm gonna stay up and watch that game, even though I got to get up for work.
Whoa. What else
Be
is
a
there to
90
watch
game.
for?
9 o'clock.
Yeah.
9 o'clock on the 4 Usually 9 o'clock, I'm freaking
Done.
dead to the world. All right. Final segment. What's bugging me? You've been kind of teasing it, so I'm going to let you go.
So kick a field goal. That's that'll be the title of this little soliloquy here. Kick a field goal. Especially now, there are certain games and certain situations where maybe there's a point to be made. Maybe you're trying to get your offense a little better. Who knows? But in a game of the magnitude of the AFC Championship, and you're at home, and it's forecasted that you're going to have a snowstorm, not a sprinkle of snow, a snowstorm blowing all over the place, and you're not going to take the 3 points that are given to you. It changes people. What I don't get is this. When you don't get the points, it changes the complexity or not the composition of the game. It messes it up. Mm-hmm. If you're down 10, it's a different feeling than being down 7. Okay,
and the Patriots have been down 10 much if at all this year. It would have been something new.
You don't let them think they have a chance. Yep. Nobody, if nobody should have ever thought that Jarrett Stidham was going to win that football game for them. Right. Okay, it was up to Sean Payton to coach a great game.
Yes,
and he coached his worst game. He coached like he didn't know what he was doing. Right. He showed pure panic from the get-go.
I think it's arrogance, John.
Well, I'll give you that too, because looking at it from that perspective, he basically told everybody, I don't believe in Stidham by doing what he did. Okay. Right. We're not going to get down there very much often. We better get as many points as we can. Okay. He didn't show much. He didn't show much for his defense either. Your defense has played phenomenally all year. Drake May's only a 2-year guy. Why couldn't you think your defense was going to hold him to less than that many points? Okay. So I just think that he really, if I was self-analyzing after that, and I'm Sean Payton, he can apologize all he wants, but he better look in the mirror and say, hey, I may not get back to the AFC Championship in another 2 or 3 years. Who knows what's going to go on? I'm in a division where Patrick Mahomes is going to come back with a chip on his shoulder.
Oh, and by the way, I had all those comeback wins this year.
Yeah, right. And Bo Nix has been playing well, but not great in a lot of cases. So he listen, I think Sean Payton is a very good coach. Don't get me wrong, I really do. How many Super Bowls did he win? One.
Yeah.
How many did he get to? One. Okay. A lot of these games, NFC Championship, NFC Conference, the Saints were sort of the team you expected to lose a little bit. And I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to pick on him. It's not an easy process. He's a really good coach. But man, you better look at the philosophy of how you do things in the playoffs has got to change a little bit moving forward. So yeah, anybody, and by the way, this is going on everywhere. People are passing up on points. We talked about, you said, all year long. What are you thinking? What are you thinking in these situations? Take the points. Take the points. When you chase points like that, it makes no sense. It really makes no sense. And what happens? Lose by 3, lose by 2. So this happens, that happens. It changes the whole philosophy of the game. And I'm not saying you have to be ultra conservative in certain situations, but in those situations, no. You better be a hell of a lot smarter than that and take those points and make that field goal. That's guys getting paid millions of dollars, kick a ball 25 yards. Do it.
And the conditions were ideal at that time.
Kick the extra point. Why can't you kick a field goal? It's the same thing.
Right. No, I'm with you. And listen, I've watched the Patriots because, well, I'm stuck up here. But Vrabel constantly kicks the field goal. Constantly.
Yes.
Constantly. He had one game where they had 6 field goals. Another game where they had 3 field goals. 4 field goals. He says 3's better than none. And you know what? Where is he? He's going to the Super Bowl.
If they were on the 40-yard line and it was a 57-yard field goal, on the 35, it was a 52-yard field goal at the same down and distance, maybe at that point I understand it. You know what I'm saying? Yep. But no, when makeable with the weather still good, come on. It's silly.
All right. I have two what's bugging me's.
Good.
I kind of went over the one with Tony Batiti and Greg Sankey and the back and forth and
Yeah, dumb.
the 16, 24, and they end up with they took an extra of like 5 weeks to do nothing. Absolutely zero.
Right.
But my other pet peeve is my pet peeve annually. And only because of circumstance has been a few instances where the Super Bowl was played the following Sunday. Why do we need 2 weeks? Why?
We don't.
I mean, if I had a daily sports talk show, it would drive me crazy. What are you going to talk about for 2 freaking weeks? And do they really need a bye week? They're in a thing where they're playing every week. Patriots play 3 weeks in a row. The Seattle just had a bye and they played 2 weeks in a row. What do we need to stretch the season out any more than it is? And I know there's some talk that once they go to an 18-game schedule, that there probably will only be 1 week, because if you stretch the season out anymore, it's going to be in March, for crying out loud.
Right.
So I'm looking forward to that. Although I'm not looking forward to 18 games. The players getting hurt now. What are they going to do with an extra game? But back to the original premise. I just think it's absolutely stupid to have two weeks between the championship and the Super Bowl.
You're right. What are you going to talk about Drake May over and over and over again? You're going to see the highlights of him being a basketball player, and his brother played in North Carolina.
Right.
His dad did this, and everything else did that. We already know the stories. We've heard them already. You're going to rehash them all, and it's going to be day after day after day of the same thing, and then a 12-hour pregame show that nobody watches anymore.
Exactly.
What can it? There's overkill to it, and yep. I will say this too. I've told you I'm not a big pregame show watcher as it is.
I don't know.
Yesterday I watched the NFL Network.
Okay.
And they ran out of things to do yesterday. Officially, there's nothing else to do. They dressed 4 analyst ups in costumes.
Yes.
In fish costumes. And Adam Thielen, who's new to the broadcast there or whatever, or maybe
right, he retired. Yeah.
Was throwing like the helmets or whatever. I don't know. It was beyond me. And Eisen was embarrassed. Rich Eisen was embarrassed by it.
Sure, he should be.
And there's nothing.
What do you need a 3-hour pregame show for 2 games? I mean, what the hell?
No, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, ESPN does the same thing. I'm not watching. I turn the game on literally at 2:59 for the.
But they should do it. Right. They're gonna have that many such time. They should take the roster and say, number 1 is Micah Parsons. He went to Penn State University. Here's what he looks like. Here's his kids. Here's his wife. Here's this. Here's his favorite music. I don't need to know that much. I really don't. It's not that much. There's not that much interesting in it as well. It's just beyond my comprehension that they do that. And maybe they see that ESPN does game day and they act like a little clownish in that situation. But it's college. It's not in the studio. It's in front of thousands of screaming college students. It's a different deal. And maybe they're all fighting for ratings, but I can tell you that they're not. I'm never going to watch them. If I turn it on just because there's nothing else on, it's only just to buy me 5 minutes.
All right, I think we've exhausted ourselves here.
Yeah.
What did I do there?
I'm
totally playing with everything right now. That'll do it for this edition of the 941 Sports Zone. Again, big thanks to Jason Mensing, the head coach
he did awesome.
Lemon Bay High School for
what an interesting conversation that was.
Yes,
very interesting conversation. That'll be a lot to be talked about in the spring for sure.
Absolutely, and I can't wait to have him come on in again for our preview, our season preview.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
I look forward to that, and we'll have several SSAA schools, and
maybe have to segment it out and have them have their own spot. Yeah, the whole thing.
I totally agree with you, John. Well, John, enjoy the impending cold weather, because it's coming, and stay warm. I'm dreading another nor'easter. This one would be more of a true nor'easter. They're talking about the weather being a major factor with winds and stuff. That's when you start getting power outages. And
Yeah, that's not
I
good.
actually have friends who actually watch the podcast. My buddy Matt lives in Nashville, and they lost power yesterday
miserable.
morning, and it's really, really bad. So
Yeah.
all the best to everybody who watches and is dealing with the weather. Kind of tongue in cheek with you. I mean, you just have to find a parka that you don't have, but nonetheless, we look
I
forward.
have lots of sweatshirts, Rich. That's what I'm.
There you
I'm a sweatshirt guy.
Me too. And look forward to next week. We will break down the Super Bowl next week. We'll talk about it. We'll make our picks, and we'll have a lot more. We'll start getting a little more, I think, college basketball worked in as well. A little
Right.
NBA. We've been talking a little bit about the Lightning. Go ahead.
But we won't talk for 3 hours about the Super Bowl.
No, that's very true. That's very true. We'll keep it to about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's about what our average pod is, give or take a few minutes. All right, everybody, stay warm, stay safe, and we'll see you again next Monday. And again, like us, subscribe. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on X. I get it on Instagram. So wherever you consume your podcast, you can find the 941 Sports Zone. For John, ready for the draft, Masoni, I'm Spitz. Have a good day, everybody.